have gone this far without doing a video. Of course, as you can see behind me, the iconic, world famous Eiffel Tower. Right, never mind all the tourist stuff, which we're doing a little bit of today in Paris. Newcastle United's got a massive game. Eddie Howe last night at the Parc des Princes talked about it being a defining moment in this campaign. He called on his players to almost make a little bit of their own history. Jordan, it's a massive night against Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, defining moment. I don't think I could sum it up better myself. Hoping Newcastle probably need a win tonight to keep their hopes of qualifying for last 16 of the Champions League alive. I think they can do it by getting a draw, but if you do that, you're relying on results elsewhere. So ideally, you would like 3 points to sit when you go to that game against AC Milan, have the initiative and have it in your own hands. You're right, it's a very, very difficult game. Coming out the best of times is difficult. Big European giant, but I think about the amount of injuries Newcastle have got, I think they've got a really strong starting 11 here. But as I say, when you look to the bench, probably going to have one impact player on Lewis Hall or Tina Vermento, so it's a real struggle. But Newcastle United in the Champions League previously have came from the face of adversity. You think about a few years ago, obviously.
20 years ago.
20 years ago now, they lost the first 3 games, qualified by winning the last 3 games. So they proved the Champions League they can do it. And yeah, look, I wouldn't write Newcastle off. I think they played PSG off the park in the last game. Okay, it's different at the home ground, but honestly, I think they've got nothing to fear.
Dom, thoughts ahead of tonight? It is kind of, it feels a little bit make or break, doesn't it? And the squad very much feels like at breaking point, as it seems to every time we have these conversations.
Yeah, and you sort of wonder how much this game could take out of Newcastle moving forward ahead of a busy run of fixtures in the Premier League and then the Carabao Cup as well, Chelsea later in December. So yeah, busy run of fixtures, and this game is really important for Newcastle obviously, but it's also really important for PSG, who lost their last game. They've sort of stuttered through the group so far, obviously losing 4-1 to Newcastle at St James's Park, but they don't seem to lose at Parc des Princes very much and are in very good form domestically as well. So big game for both teams. Luis Enrique, the PSG boss, said they're treating it as if it was a cup final. Old cliche, I know, but looking at Newcastle's team, as Jordan said, strong starting 11. I think for me, the deciding factor will be if Newcastle's attacking players turn up, which I'd argue, as much as Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon have performed in the Premier League, 13 goals between them so far this season in the cup competitions and the Premier League as well, but in the Champions League, neither have really sort of lit up or lit the Champions League up so far. So I think those 2 players for Newcastle in particular will be really important, and if they can deliver, then Newcastle have a chance of winning. But easier said than done. These are 2 players who, in Isak's case, only recently returned from injury. Can he play 90 minutes and make an impact? I'm not sure. Anthony Gordon, there was previous concerns about his fitness when he first arrived at the club, and can he, because he's playing every week now so regularly, can he last that 90 minutes at that intensity Eddie Howe's team will need to have in order to get a result tonight?
Yeah, I very much agree with both you guys there. I think the one thing that I would say is I do feel like we are owed a performance from Isak or Gordon. They're incredible footballers. We just haven't seen them light up this competition, like you said, Dom. The only thing I would maybe say is, in a list of priorities in a weird season where performances have been incredible, but the overall performance, you'd probably argue, has dipped slightly below where it probably was at the same stage last season because of injuries. Where does this sit on the list of priorities? Newcastle fought so hard to get here. Nick Pope talked about the idea of you would have snapped your hand off basically to be in this position no matter what at certain points last season. But you do have to wonder, does this game tonight potentially come at a cost of affecting Newcastle United's league form, and where does it sit in terms of priorities with the Carabao Cup? Newcastle have had their first season back in the Champions League. They've done a lot of what they wanted to do. I think they probably haven't performed at the levels that they would like, but I would argue if there's a game that maybe doesn't sit amazingly high on the priorities because of the list that, you know, the games that they have and the opposition, it's probably this one. I think they face a really tough task tonight. I think it's so easy for us to overlook a lot of the facts staring us in the face. Paris Saint-Germain haven't lost a home Champions League group game for the best part of 10 years, if not a little bit longer. It's probably one of the biggest tasks you'll ever face, is coming here and making and winning. And let's not beat around the bush here. A draw's not good enough for Newcastle United if they want to progress. It isn't. It is in their own hands. they have to go and win both games, and they've put themselves in this position by 2 really under par performances against Borussia Dortmund, where even if they just secured 1 win out of those 2 games, or even a point, they'll be in a much stronger position. But they've put themselves here, and only they can get themselves out of it. And the last thing I would do about this team, which is very strong, by the way, it's a very strong starting 11, there's just nothing else behind it. They can't do this. The last thing you want to do is write this team off, because time and time again, I think a lot of us wrote them off at Manchester United and they went and produced the performance. But going to Old Trafford against a very subpar, all its sorts Manchester United is a very different task to come into the Parc des Princes and beating an almost unstoppable European force at home in the group stage in Paris Saint-Germain. I think it is going to be a very tough task. But look, if anybody can do it, it's Eddie Howe and the boys who can do it, and we'll be with you every step of the way. Follow all our content at the Shields Gazette with Dom here, and follow all the Newcastle World's content with Jordan, and you might see a little bit from me too. But yeah, give all the social channels a follow. Follow these guys on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and Facebook for all the updates from Paris and from the game tonight, and for all the fallout tomorrow.